Welcome to this roundtable conversation on optimizing the offline customer experience and understanding your playbook for the end-to-end customer journey. The premise for this conversation is basically today digital is a big part of where the customer journey begins, and by the time it reaches, of course the human element is not out of the entire journey, but by the time a agent begins his first interaction with the customer has already begun his journey and is somewhere, right? And so how to bring that agent at the same place where the customer is and take that journey to completion without kind of repeating that whole process from beginning, right? uh, I'd like to, of course, introduce Arun here from Sharpcell. He's the co-founder, and he'll talk a little bit about the problem that they are trying to solve in this space. And we'll also do a quick round of introductions. Of course, all of you have been talking outside and meet, maybe some of you know each other from previous organizations, but we'll do a little small introductions of the portfolios that you're leading at your respective organization. So we are all from BFSI, but interesting to note that all of you are leading different portfolios within your respective organizations. So Arun, if you'd like to begin.
Okay. So good evening all. Thanks a lot for being here with us. And so maybe before we get into the conversation, I'll just set some context on what at least Sharpcell is trying to do here in this specific discussion. So, sir, could I have the slide up, please? It's no, man, not working. Yeah. So I think the whole idea was that ET brand equity works a lot with customers, and a lot of their focus is on how customers think, how customers make buying decisions, and where customer preferences really lie. And we sit exactly on the other side. So we focus on the seller's side rather, not really on the selling, because the online automated sales, I think, is something that we don't do. But we sit a lot on the seller side, where we look at saying, hey, what is the seller doing? How do you marry the preferences of the customer to what the seller should do to ensure that something kind of clicks and the sale happens. And I think a lot of what and the whole idea was that can we come together and understand what happens at the moment of truth, which is what happens at every touch point that a seller has with the customer, what goes on through with the seller, what goes on through with the customer, and what is really happening. And like a lot of you would, I'll not go through the introduction part. I think I'm sure some of you have spoken to our team members, we have interacted before. But a lot of what we are doing is to solve these problems in terms of saying, seller has limited time, seller has limited knowledge. There are a lot of inputs given, but they're not able to translate it to output. So how are we going to, in spite of all this, help them look like an expert is where our focus is. And at every customer conversation, how does the customer feel that, bhaiya, isko samajh mein aa gaya ki mujhe kya chahiye? So how do you kind of take people to that place? And again, I can see you smile. That's a pipe dream. But the question is, how do you take one step at a time? And and individually, I've had a lot of conversation with each of you to figure out how, what we are doing, how we can do, etc., etc. And one of our objectives of having, experts like you, practitioners like you come here is to kind of understand what is really happening on the field, and what have you seen work and what have you seen not work, and more importantly, learn from each other on, how you have got things to work, and how things didn't work, irrespective of a lot of things that we did. Because I think whenever we start, the expectation is that things really work. So I think that's something that we wanted to kind of understand on. And broadly for us, the inputs that go in fall in two buckets, right? So one is how you're really going to get people up the skill curve and hope that, in the long term, they kind of run on autopilot. They kind of, are where their, managers and managers are, which is fairly long term in nature. And on the other side, the question is that, hey, while all this is happening, your customer is not going to wait. You get one opportunity with that audience, and how do you kind of make the best out of it, and how do you get this going? So we kind of do a lot of work on both these places, and we do something called AI-based role plays, where we are able to kind of create these customer conversations where people can practice, what they can do, and we do a lot of this personalized work. And while we do a lot of this, while a lot of this is working, the question still remains to say, what else is really happening out there. While there's a lot of field visit, etc., that's done. I'm sure the kind of if I look at the amount of field insights that all of you have, because you spend time with people, have numbers, etc. So the idea is to figure out how to what is happening today, where are things are, and what is really going to help the sellers in this moment of truth. So I think that's one of the objectives that we had, as part of the discussion, to kind of take a lot of those insights from all of you sitting here. And so I just thought I'll set this context in terms of what is SharpSell's interest in being part of such an event. So with that, I think we'll kind of open the floor. Maybe Sanjay, could we just start with a quick round of introduction, and maybe we just go in circle? Yeah.
Yeah, so before we begin, just request you to turn on your mics. You'll have to press it and turn it on. And yeah, you can do a quick introduction about what you're leading and yourself.
So I'm Sanjay Sharda. I head the consumer banking at Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. So basically look after all the liability products, cross-sell and digital for the bank. And hopefully we should be going ahead far more than what we are today. So that's in short.
Pratim, you would like to go next?
Hello everyone, my name is Pratim Mukherjee and I represent CSB Bank. I head the NR business for the bank.
What business? Sorry?
NR business for the bank. Non-resident.
Yeah. Sheetal?
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Sheetal Nandoskar and I'm from the Tata AIA Life Insurance organization. I head the technology team, especially the distribution platforms. So, so to say, the lead management, code generation, all of that. So, all the sales distribution platform is what I lead. Thanks.
Sandeepan?
Hi, good evening. This is Sandeepan here. I head current account and savings account deposit product as well as acquisition for South Indian Bank for the rest of India territory. We are a bank which is headquartered in Kerala, so we look at acquisition within Kerala and then we look at acquisition outside of Kerala. So the outside of Kerala geography is what I manage.
Okay. Narendranath?
Hi, this is Narendra Misra. So I head retail and retail loan in DCB Bank.
Dharmesh? Sorry, Nikhil.
So I had a long stint. My name is Nikhil Kumar. So I had a long stint at Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. So I had joined as head of new initiative, and currently I'm taking care of business solution and a digital transformation project.
Can you add some more context? New initiatives?
So 6 years back, when bank was set up, that time all the analysis and requirement was done pre-COVID era, right? And we all know that after that the digital landscape has undergone so much changes.
Okay.
So last 3 years we have been working on that, redefining the journey and what new application we can bring in and how we can use more of data and all. So that we are working on currently.
Thank you. Dharmesh?
Hi, good evening everyone. Dharmesh Kamdar. I represent DCB Bank. I look after deposit business and portfolio and performance analytics for the bank.
Thank you.
Hi.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hi,
No,
Pankaj
yeah.
this side from Kotak Bank, and I take care of L&D for a couple of businesses, like mostly on asset side.
I'm Amit Garu. I have around 27 years of experience. I've worked across banks, life, general and health insurance, as well as a telecom company, part of few startups, as well as digital education startup. And currently I look after the banks for Aditya Birla Health.
Great. So, all of us are from banking or insurance as far as I take it, but managing different portfolios. Some of us are managing cards, some of us are managing health, some of us are looking at life, right? So, wanted to understand, what does the customer journey look like in your respective categories, keeping in mind the regionalities, keeping in mind the portfolios that you're managing. What does the customer journey look like, and how do you drive sales excellence throughout the organization, not relying on the expertise of your few top sellers or your few customer service agents who are the best resolution providers, right? How are you driving this? So I think NRI business would be very interesting to learn from the customer base is spread across the globe. I think you would have to be 24/7 up and this to drive kind of the interactions. How do you cater to a customer base that is spread out across and manage their expectations?
So it is true that the customer is spread all across the globe, but the reality is that if you take out 10 to 12 countries and focus upon that, covers your 50% of the NRI population, and almost 60-70% of the remittance which are coming in. So your money lies in 10-15 countries and few corridors, so that's what you have to focus upon. And it's very unique because NRI as a customer segment is very exposed to the best in the global standards, but at the same time they're they what they require is they're as a community, they are very accommodative. The people, every community of NRI doesn't send money back to India. So if you see that all the states, the distribution of the remittance, certain states like Gujarat and all, who has got a very high population of NRI, but if you see the remittance doesn't reflect that kind of a population, whereas Kerala, Andhra, this kind of people, it's a very emotional decision, and also the professions they are in. So people who are mostly on a self-employed and that kind of a category, they definitely what they earn there, they have to reinvest back in their businesses and all these kind of things. But people who are professionals and who are sometimes self-employed also, who wants to come back in India, or they have to create a equal status in India, they are the kind of people who start sending money. And definitely there is one very high segment who has a high propensity of sending money to India, which is which we might not look up to, but it's on the blue collar segment, because they go there only to spend a few years away from their family, so that they come back and start something better and over here. So the each segment has got a very different requirement, but at the same time they are not reached out. NRI as a segment is very difficult to acquire, because there are a lot of barriers to acquisition, because you cannot acquire them on a non-face to face. There are certain protocols, but at the same time very difficult to lose also. So you have to try hard for acquiring and losing both. So this, otherwise this in between, the stickiness is very high, and the demands are very limited, because it's very restricted kind of a business. You cannot, there are a lot of restriction what kind of transactions an NRI can do, what a domestic customer can do. So only thing is, it works primarily on the relationship, trust, timely response, and a bouquet of certain products which fits them with a specific and advisory kind of a thing. But I would say relationship and the management comes topmost.
And do you see it change a lot in terms of the compliance guidelines that come, or in terms of the, you said top 10-15 countries are the ones where most of do these 10-15 countries change over time?
See, regulations in terms of because NRI is a segment, but there is a lot of things which are from the compliance, FEMA, and all these kind of things are applicable, right? Then GDPR, there are a lot of regulations which governs NRI as a business. So it doesn't change often, but say for example, non-face to face, it has been more stricter and more stringent about a last 1.5 year. So those kind of changes keeps happening, but more or less the framework remains has not changed. At times, some apart from some here and there.
Sanjay, coming to you, you said you manage the consumer business. That's as broad as it gets. What is the customer journey like? What is the customer like? And how do you ensure that the sales process is as convenient and
Okay, I think in terms of customers, we will have the most diverse, because we have absolute marginal people who are living on microfinance,
right,
to people who are in the main, high net worth individuals who have a lot of surplus money and they like to do a lot of deposits. So there's a complete array of customers you can think of. So what we've done is we've actually segmented the customer base. It can't be one size or one offering fitting for all. So we have to have differentiated offerings. For a marginal customer, a debit card is a luxury. Okay, for him, debit or a credit or a, what do you call a debit card is a status symbol. Whereas for a HNI, it's even a credit card, unless it is really fancy, it's not this thing. So, based on this segmentation, we have divided our product offering, and in terms of servicing, there are 2-3 aspects. Basic customer needs just a deposit and a withdrawal facility, whereas an HNI or a slightly middle income kind of group, they need lot more hand holding in terms of whether they want net banking, mobile banking, they want delivery at home, they want senior citizens want everything done at home, they don't want anything. So there's a whole segmentation which my colleague here Dilip handles in terms of products and offerings. And in terms of managing the lead flow, we have a LEMS, which is just a new initiative, part of Nikhil's work, and it's coming out really well because it's able to help us to track what is the kind of leads which we are getting in terms of various products which we offer, and we offer full gambit of retail banking products now, except for NR, which we will start, and so it helps us to track the number of leads inputted, conversions, what is this customer journey in terms of when he started initiating the account opening process to where we are today, which stages where we are in terms of the journey. So that's what we are doing.
So it's very early days. What has been your kind of success in getting your last mile agents to use this lead flow to drive those?
It was difficult in the first 2 months, but today we are seeing numbers growing maybe exponentially, maybe 100% every day. If I look at the last month to this month, there's 100% growth because they started seeing the benefit of it. So it's actually it's a real taste of anything is when you eat it, right?
Right.
So they've started tasting the success. So they were doing 5, 6, 7 accounts a month. Suddenly they've gone to 10 because they're able to track. And they know that in the morning when I go to the office, I have so many leads which I can work on. So that is helping them to convert. And the more they convert, the more they do, they get higher incentives. So automatically that part of getting that initial resistance breaking is over. We are now in the stage where we'll start seeing exponential growth of the platform. And that is what's going to happen, really going to take us to the next level.
So there is an incentive in terms of them getting more leads and of course that being part of commission.
Conversions.
But there is no stick in terms of say aligning their KPIs using that platform.
The KPIs are there. What you've done further is that about to happen, and Nikhil can add more on it, that if your leads is not on the LEMS, you will not get any credit.
Okay.
So that will automatically move everything onto the platform.
Right.
I was just waiting to hear you say no, there is no stick. अपने आप हो जाता सब when.
वो तो ऐसे हो जाता फिर हमारे भारत देश में नहीं होते.
Additionally, what we have done is on the lead front. So when we are defining the journey, it was from lead to actual service delivery. Yeah. So that was the entire journey.
That is why it's called LEMS, right?
Yeah. So in fact, earlier the challenge was the leads were getting lost. It was not getting tracked. Now we are able to find out where at what stage lead is dropping. So that is helping us. Plus, we have also created the centralized repository. So, the central team which does the cold calling, and through web crawler also we accumulate the leads, and those leads are centrally pumped in, and the field staff, they are also pushed, like you can target, these are the prospects whom you can target to get the.
Also, reviews are happening on the platform, via the platform. So, when I talk to somebody, I will not say, okay, what is the kind of pipeline you have? I will know what is the pipeline you have. So then, that focus comes in. When you have a number, automatically the focus narrows down and you know what is expected. So I think that is what has changed, and that's going to change even further. Now we are trying to get that to our microfinance also. So once that happens, then of course, it's a different word altogether. Because we have 10,000 plus people in microfinance. So that's a huge number.
So I want to come back on this, on how much time it takes. Do your agents now spend more time filling out your lead form or more time because they have to do it? It's simple. It's not 2 minutes.
For lead.
So Dharmesh, I want to also talk to you. You had portfolio analytics for the retail customers, right? now your CXOs have access to the insights and the data at a higher group level, right? But your last mile agents, how do you bring that data back to those agents as a playbook they can use? Because they don't have the know-how to kind of, you know, unravel complicated consumer data or make sense of it. How does it go to them in a ready to kind of start, format? How does that work?
See, if a frontline, if we give them the very complicated kind of data set,
Yeah.
then don't gonna use it, because it's they want to do simple thing, read the data or read the numbers, connect with the customer, and get the business done if it is possible. So what we try to do, we look at the various kind of slicing, dicing. We do the portfolio. The, as per our understanding, as per the customer behavior, we look at the trends, what our customer is doing, and we try to find out various kind of high potential customers. Let's say for the gold loan, or for the if it is a deposits, maybe for savings account. So we try to find out such kind of customers who can be easily be converted to a particular role. Maybe if it is a life insurance, maybe if it's a general insurance. So we try to cull out this kind of data from our in-house data, and then we supply this data to our front line, so that we can increase the input-output ratio of the front line. That lead conversion should be higher. That's what we target for.
So just to add to that, typically the hypothesis we've heard is ki don't give people on the front line. I'm not talking about managers. Let's say the people who sellers. Let's say hypothesis that don't give them anything where they have to apply their mind, where they'll just drop it and go on. So
Yeah.
is that still the case? And you just say ki
Correct. So we say that this is the data, you connect with these customers, and you'll get the better bucks.
okay. So that's not changed. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, Sheetal, I want to talk about insurance. There are a lot of agents on the ground who are selling these insurance products to the customers. A lot of hand-holding is required, education is required, right? And there are many products. The process is somewhat digitized, but still you need people to kind of clarify certain aspects of the product. How are you empowering these last mile agents using technology, using this, and what are some of the outcomes that you've seen by driving it through a tech-led?
So, Varun, just tell me, take a guess of what kind of distributor network I have in Tata AI.
Well, you'll have on-the-ground
Agents, yeah, all the
agents.
agents
Yeah, you
and
will
like,
have banks who will distribute your
just take
products.
a guess of a number. Kitne hongi?
50,000?
No. So I have 1.5 lakh of FOS, which is agency itself,
Agents. Okay.
and 50K of banker partners,
Okay.
right? Because we have tie up with more than 10 banker partners.
Right.
So now this is the gamut of people that I want to work with.
Yeah.
Training 2 lakh people, do you think it's even possible? Right?
Yeah.
Which product is coming? What systems are coming? What are the new features that are launching? It's absolutely not possible to keep training these people. Not that we don't have a training system in place, or that we have a training playbook in place. We do have that. But let's accept that the churning is so high, and 1.5 lakh is a number that's churning every day. New people are getting added, old people are leaving, some people are just coming in the system and not doing business, right? So how does technology help in maintaining connect with these people? What are my products? What are the features? What you need to sell? What will get revenue to the company? How will you earn more commission? Right? So all of this, if I have to manage, then like Sanjay also said, we cannot have a one-size-fit-all kind of a solution for our guys. We have to give them catered solutions, customized playbooks, so on, to do their job correctly. So now let me start from the top. What happens is I have the cream layer, which are the veterans of insurance, right? I don't need to tell them anything how to sell. They know. Probably they would only want to know what the product configurations and features, how much I get. That's all. कैसे बेचना है सामने वाले को कैसे, and let's be fair and accept that insurance right now is also a push product. Nobody is going there buying insurance. So if I have to put it in Hindi, कैसे चिपकाना है is what yeah. is what the yeah, it is the fact. So Yeah, so these veterans will know their job like to the T. They don't need training. उनको सिर्फ आपका product समझ में आना है. Now, how we empower them is we give them the cream tools which are not available to other people. All right. Thank you. So these tools are generative AI, ChatGPT, as we loosely know. What we do is now I'm sitting with you, right? I'm sitting with. Can't see your name. I'm sitting with Pankaj. So I'm sitting with Pankaj. I'm trying to tell him that this is my product and this is what it is. And Pankaj asked me an out of a blue question कि पर HDFC के साथ कैसे compare हो रहा है? Now I might not know, though I know the market, but I might not know how does it compare with HDFC. So I have ChatGPT, and I will just say, hey Sanjay, this is the age, and this is Tata AIA product. Tata AIA, all the information is already available in my machinery. So the tool knows Tata AIA very well, and I'll say compare it with HDFC similar product. Now the engine, I mean the tool will churn out data information and give you a comparative analysis then and there and show you that this is how it is coming. And we all know that ChatGPT generative AI comes at a cost, right? So we can't really give it to every Tom, Dick and Harry there, but we give it to these veterans or people whom we want to portray, and we want them to come out more professionally. And now what we do is with these people, we make them as micro influencers, and we task them that you are a micro influencer in your space, you create more people like you. So they are generally the leaders, and with all these tools, it's their responsibility to create more people like them, to whom we can leverage with more technology help. This is what we do here. And for the other cohorts, now we have various strategies: month 0, month 1, M12, M24. We have various strategies of all the people who are with us. One interesting aid that we give there is you can call somebody for your joint field visitors, as we call. So if I am sitting with, say, Nikhil, and I'm like, M6, I'm month 6 old in the organization. I'm trying to talk to Nikhil, and Nikhil is asking me complicated questions. I don't know. What I can do is on a click of a button, I can pull any of my colleague, which can be a trainer, which can be my leader, or anyone who in my hierarchy, saying that, okay, let me pull it. I can pull that person on a Zoom call, whoever is available. You'll see the active status and all that, and you can just give them a nudge that, okay, pull them on a Zoom call and get Nikhil answered his questions, right? Now, this is something that we have for our other cohorts. This is how we balance out technology to aid people in in their engagement with the customer, which is more customized way. And like you asked, what kind of playbook we follow? So there's a term coined called choreography, which is very famous in Tata AIA. And choreography is nothing but सुबह उठना है, exercise करना है, meditation करना है, this that, right? So we have this entire choreography laid out for various cohorts. So somebody in the top layer will have a choreography saying that, hey, you have to do morning huddle every day with your team, and the participation should be this much, and these are the topics that you will talk about. You will talk about digital, you will talk about product, you will talk about regulations, processes. So that entire thing is like, played for them. And similarly for the other cohorts, they will have something like, okay, how quickly you are going up to next level, how many activities are you participating, how many joint field work did you do. If you're good at your leads, we don't ask them that, acha joint field work karna hi hai. But if you're not, your lead conversion ratio is not up to the mark, then are you using the technology that is available to you? So tools along with choreography, they really go hand in hand to give a customized experience to all our customers.
So what I understand is, please.
I mean, this sounds like might have been celebrated. Like, is it so, or people are still reluctant to that? Like, if something can by default judge which stage you are and accordingly recommend what should be your day kind of thing. People really celebrate it, or it is still you need to push that?
Okay, so Pankaj, I'll tell you one thing. One is, I'll give you 2 passes. Mm-hmm. One, I'll say ये exclusive है, ये exclusive pass है, और ये regular pass है. Regular pass आपको तो मिल ही जाएगा. Exclusive pass के लिए you don't, मतलब खरीदना नहीं है आपको. But what you have to do is you have to do 3 activities. This is the playbook, and these 3 activities you have to do. Right? So you want to be part of the club. So there is no stick approach, there is nothing like that. It's just a carrot to go, oh yeah, I also want to be there. And we celebrate it, we give badges and everything.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Appreciate.
That's
We
the
give,
only way.
and we give
Amazing.
so many
Tata
badges.
They also put it down. We don't do that actually.
And I think
So
just to add,
it's a both ways, huh? Carrot
Yeah.
and stick.
Carrot
Yeah.
and stick, yeah.
but I,
Choreography is a very well known tool.
Yeah.
Tata AI.
Yeah.
so I had a question because of all the people sitting here, I think you have like largest set of people who you can't really pull up because I mean,
Yeah.
agents, you
You can't.
if I feel like I'll do it, otherwise
Yeah.
I can always. So does this work with the with employees? Let's say even with, let's say, a banker channel, RM, etc.
Yeah.
I might be
Employees-
able to drive this, but
Yeah.
does any of this work with the agent population?
Yeah, same thing. Employees is easy. They're बेचारे हो तुम उनको बोलो वो कर ही देते हैं, right? But with agents,
I like the way you put it nicely.
करे या ना करे भर तो देते हैं.
right.
We all are employees.
Right. Yeah, but I mean they have. Yeah, I mean your manager will tell you karo. No, you will do it, right? But yeah, the success comes when you see your agents adopt this. And right now, if I tell you, we have 77% leader adoption, and which I'm telling the top one, and 55% agent adoption, which is not without too many. Or agents you cannot punish because they are living on their commission, right? What will you say? I'll not pay you commission. I mean, they'll say, okay, I'm going somewhere else.
Get
right?
lost.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
I
that
have an
I think-
agency in my wife's name, so
Yeah. So I think that's a decent number. 77 and 55 is a decent number for technology adoption.
Very nice.
Like say. And I think this. Sorry if I'm taking more time, but what Sanjay and Nikhil were talking about lead management, that has been my favorite topic because last 2 years I've been doing and stabilizing that. And funny story is when we tried doing it with agency, have to put your leads yahan pe, otherwise it will not flow into an application. The interesting trend that came out is they put a lead and they just start the application journey. So they're not actually putting a prospect, they're just keying in for the sake of because they want to move ahead with the application. So funny ways to interact with offline agents plus banker plus our own employees, but it's interesting. Yeah,
because this is something that Star Health tried, where they said I'm going to start this off with
with leads.
with leads, where they said no, they said it's like a curated experience, where they said I'll give it to my top chairman's club agents in my regional team, etc. The top 1,000 to start off with, where they said I'll give you Zoho CRM customized and all, and I mean it never took off because there's always that question of key.
They always put their own mobile number and emails there.
Yeah, I have two successful applications running here. One is this Gen AI, which I spoke about, and second is the content tool, which is a lot of. So today market is low, and this is what you should just send to your customer. Market is low. Take this ULIP product, and this is what you will get. That's the morning trigger we send to our agents, and they can just forward it to their natural market, trying to get more interest out of it, which is also very interesting. And these two tools, I think successfully we are being able to place them as something that you want to achieve, while other lead management and everything else is open and available to everyone.
So two things I just wanted to clarify. One is not all of your 150,000 workforce would have access to the tool. Your top agents with the expertise would have access. This is primarily because...
So I have 13 applications. Now I'm making a super app this year.
Yeah.
But but two tools are exclusive. Others is open to everyone.
Open to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Sandeepan, I just want to talk to you about the current account and savings account business, right? It's as process oriented as it gets. And with pandemic and everything, it's become a digital openings have become the norm, right? For a large part of the industry. How do you see the customer journey for South Indian Bank, right? And how are you solving for that hand-holding at the last mile so that the drop-offs are not there? Because for you, I think it actually costs you if a customer opens a savings account, but the business actually, for you, the growth actually starts after the account is opened, right? When you can sell them other products like cards and insurance or loans or whatever.
Not just a cross-sell, but even post-balance maintenance in those accounts. There is
That's
cost of
also a vital
acquisition
part, right?
for every savings and current account that a bank does.
Yeah.
And post which, once the balances are maintained, and then you start deepening the relationship.
Yeah.
Or what we call cross-selling or penetrating the relationship further in order to create a larger stickiness. So when you look at a process in terms of what we do, it's a mashed process. One is a do-it-yourself process, which is regulated, which is a very clear indicator of if somebody has to open an account through the online mode and complete it through via a VKYC, then there are regulations around it, and the bank has processes around it. When it comes to offline mode, we have a hybrid sales model. So hybrid sales model in the sense that it is the branch staff who is ultimately reaching out to customers, and then they are pitching for multiple products. One way of doing it is that the existing customer, and you reach out for references offline, and then you penetrate the relationship further in terms of, because when you look at the customer as a group, then the group may not be with me. The group could be banking, in piecemeal, fragments. But at the same time, it's a war for wallet share for every bank. For the same customer, every bank is trying to eke out the best deal that is possible through their offering and pricing. There is a very fundamental change that we are trying to do. When you talk about sales, inherently a lot of salespeople put pricing as a very prioritized aspect of pitching. That you talk about an account, people talk about you have to open an account, and this is a balance you maintain. Not many people really want to go about and say that, hey, look, these are the products that I offer, and come to it at the end of it. So that's a cultural shift that we are trying to make within our team. How are we doing it? Offline, there are e-learning tools, there is gamification, and there is constant role plays. What we stress is the joint call approach to customers. Leads flow in through two ways. One, the platform that we use for leads is CRM Next, of course, and anything which comes from the branch, which is outbound, gets fed into CRM. On the other side, the bank is also using analytics and data science to push leads. There are multiple platforms today which are connected to bureaus, and you pull in the data and you provide data. They are not technically leads, but they are data. So once you have got that data, then you skim it, call, and from there you funnel it down, and then you start identifying leads. What is important is the narrative that you provide for each product. A savings will have a different narrative compared to a current. Pricing could be very critical for a merchant, but it may not be as critical for a savings account holder, may not be relevant for a senior citizen customer for that matter. So when you look at the entire basket of CASA, the narrative changes from segment to segment, profile to profile. So a bank is catering to everyone from 6 to 60. When you're talking about a kid's account, you're talking to the parents, and you're talking about investments more than you're talking about balances. And how do you invest for the child's future? That's an approach which largely banks take. When you're talking to a senior citizen, you're talking to him about fixed deposit rates. When you're talking to a working professional, you're talking about the entire spectrum of retail banking that one has to offer. So how do you make that narrative is an important thing that we believe, and that's what we are trying to improvise multiple ways. We have also experimented with Playbook platform, and we find acceptance to be there, given an old generation private sector bank, but people are gearing up, and they do realize the fact that technology is important. Technology may not be the be all and end all of everything, but it's definitely an enabler. So we find acceptance over there. But from a Playbook platform, the one that we have experimented, we have put in our own information, and we found feedback coming ground up saying, can you include competition? Can you include additional XYZ products so that we are able to pitch, because this is what the market is inquiring, because this is what a competition offers. So there was a lot of positive, I would say, acceptance to the product which has been there. And in terms of lead monitoring, of course, since everything gets into CRM, there is a lead review which we do periodically, not just on generated, but how many of them are converted. And that happens across product lines, not just liabilities alone. And then there are multiple reward and recognition metrics and mechanisms which we use to highlight performance.
So just out of curiosity, right? Yeah. Because this CASA business is, so to say, dependent on individual who manage the leads. Now, before they might be managing a certain amount of accounts, but now they might be managing many more accounts. So your lead time to convert, or that time that each agent gets to interact with the lead, is also coming down, and they need to be faster. So using a sales playbook, have you seen that lead time come down, and have they been faster at kind of closing conversations which are there? Because you're also looking at revenue per agent, I think, per head. So what's been your experience in that area?
So two things to it. First is the lead time coming down? That's debatable, because it depends on the interaction that I'm having with the customer. Right. Closure tat, is there an improvement? Yes. Is it significant enough? No. So from a Playbook platform, what happens is today you're able to push through a WhatsApp notification to the customer a customized offering. The customer is interested, let's say it's a merchant, he's interested in a current account, he's interested in a POS machine, he's interested in rates or maybe some retail loans. You customize the whole thing for him and then you send it across to him and he looks at the proposal and then he figures out. A larger benefit is for a lot of salespeople, what happens when the customer, and I'm talking about the ones who are not very sharp at their skills.
Yeah.
When a customer asks multiple questions related to multiple products, the usual answer that people get to hear is that let me check and get back to you.
Get back, yeah.
That's a very generic answer. Today's consumer, if he's really looking at a closure, he's not quite interested in getting back to you, neither an email nor a phone call nor anything. He's looking at a resolution then and there. It may not be exact and accurate, but he's looking at a ballpark expectation that what is it that you can offer me. So understanding about my own product, a fair amount of understanding about what competition has to offer and how do I use technology to close that deal. A mix of all of this is beginning to make a difference in the way my staff today communicates with the customer. We see a uptick. I wouldn't say a huge positive change. Is there an uptick? For sure there is, where people are able to have more meaningful conversations using technology, as well as not just playbook but the ones which are being used internally as well. So it's all a mashed process basis which ultimately driven down to productivity.
Okay, that's what I wanted to talk to you as well, Narendranath. Ki, you see all these learning platforms and playbooks being there, but what is the compliance across the sales organization for adopting and knowing this? Your top performers, of course, would be well attuned to the changes in the industry, changes in regulations, but what about from entire organization point of view, how are you driving it using tech and not just maybe a cultural, from a culture point of view, right?
And maybe I'll just add, so do you also see it varying across, the product lines that you handle?
I handle both retail and agri. So retail is primarily metro and urban loans, and agri is it can be microfinance or it can be tractor, it can be semi-graded. So that is definitely a diverse behavior in terms of rural and urban. That is definitely there. But what I would broadly define is that what is the problem we are facing, and very honestly admit that have we been able to solve it? Probably a good part of it we are not able to solve it. So you broadly see that today we have a very high attrition rate. Attrition rate is as high as 50-70%. That's the kind of attrition at the frontline level. I'm not talking about the supervisor level. It's a very high attrition. And second is that the today's generation don't have a patience to listen anything which is more than few minutes. I'm just saying the maximum time I'm saying that. So so the attention span is very low, and today if you see the regulation is complex, the products are also complex. Supposing you talk about a customer comes to take a loan against property, there are some 9-10 variants. Even if you ask me some of the variants, I can't tell, because whether the customer is fitting here, customer is fitting there, and where does he put it, and based on that the entire turnaround time matters. You can have lead management system, you can have best of the systems, but ultimately it is the human being who's dealing with the customer. And we get supposing we get to meet a DSA who gives maybe around half of our business comes from them. He says, give me a good RM, take as many business as you want. So how do you actually? You speak to the Andromedas of the world. That's what they simply say. You give me a good RM. It's very simple to say. You meet their promoters, they say the same. Then how do you get a good RM? It's in the same market only. First of all, if he's coming from another institutions, now we are not talking about training him. We have to actually first of all make him unlearn and retrain him. Retrain him. And retrain him is extremely difficult. So how do you train him? Because ultimately the customer experiences still is, particularly loan products, still it is human based. See, we can improve the process by lead management. We can improve the things by technology, by doing some digital disbursement, paper ledger through legality. All the things we can do. But at the end of the day, barring the microfinance piece, which is more or less automated, the rest all is still human dependent. So challenges which we face, that's why the name is SARP challenge. How do I train the person? Because today the average longevity of a person is less than 1 year. So nowadays we are telling that if you are 10 days old, you are old actually. So if somebody says 30 days old, he doesn't know. Otherwise you are losing money. If the average tenure is some 8-9 months, some youngster is staying and he gets trained in 3-4 months, you don't get any productivity.
So just to add, so you're saying you don't kind of give them a let's say target holiday for 3 months.
See, we gave him a lesser target, 50%.
Okay.
But we're paying full salary, na? The target might be 50%. Salary is full, na?
Okay.
So the question is like, what do we do so that the fellow gets updated within his limited time span, despite knowing a lot of things which we are not going to do because of our practices? How does he get tuned in 7 days or 10 days time? We are clearly struggling on that. Because if that was the case, then 20% of people will not be unproductive. The maximum productivity is 80%. Supposing 80% people produce something, one loan in a month, we're very happy. That's not the case. So the second is the customer communication. In a loan case, we need to communicate the customer about repayment. We tried all the means to train the team. It's just not going on. Because how do you know? Because the customer first installment doesn't pay. You ask him, somebody has not told him what is pre-EMI. So what we did for every language, for every product, depending on their requirement, we made a video in the language with a cartoon kind of thing, explaining them, and made it a standardized key everybody is giving them, and we gave them a linkage. Now that everybody know the linkage. We found that the customer behavior changed. Now for this example, what I would not say digital way of training, learning matrix is there. I don't know whether learning matrix he is doing or his colleague is doing.
Yeah.
Today the learning matrix, he's in some remote branch. How do you know what is learning or not?
Yeah, no one ever fails.
No, most of them pass. 19% they pass. So we don't know. No. See, so now I'll tell you. So it look very, very basic exercise. For last every month, every 15 days we experiment. My last month experiment was that tell the product team, 2 CAs I have taken, 9 months of training, they know. Every day we call just 50 people, just human, and tell me how many have poor knowledge. I've not crossed 30 days. Today I was just seeing the MIS first time. Today there was single zero poor knowledge. What is happening is the amount of pressure it is putting on the supervisor. If my team member is coming in poor knowledge, a message will come from BUS directly. Forget about NSM, forget about directly coming. This person doesn't know. It's working. So what it is showing that their time span is limited. If somebody is giving them a training of 30 minutes a day, like the morning huddle, like someone was saying, morning huddle, in my view, is a complete waste of time. Morning huddle, we put immense pressure on that guy. And somebody feels if you shout at the peak of the voice, the volume will happen. Somebody feels if you use abusive words, it will only come in social media. It will not lead to the volume. Then how do in that time, probably that's why the companies like Circle is that key. That communication which we are doing, can that communication be sharpened? Can that communication be in such a way which is for this generation? Because the people who are producing are not us. People who are producing are below 30, 25, 24, 26 year old. How do you make him enable in a very short span of time? If a customer is asking a question, someone very rightly, I think you told about it, that if the customer you are not answering immediately, he just goes away. That doesn't happen in loan case, even in India till now.
Yeah.
The customer still remains. In deposit, definitely. Loan, if you don't revert him in a day or two, he gets irritated. Otherwise, DSA gives the file from one bank to the other bank.
Yeah.
Now, how do we enable through technology, plus maybe human intervention both, so that the fellow learns in a very quick time and 7 days time, 10 days, because the salary is running from the day one. That is one. Second is that how do we communicate the customer in a manner he understands the features of the products in his language. Like the videos which I made, that is colloquial. Like one customer is going to another customer asking about repayment and bureau and all. The other is explaining, then he's accepting. So how do we constantly communicate to the customer? Not by giving some like automatic, this auto dialer calls and all. Many people don't like auto dialer calls. How it is personalized, the fellow feels that is a challenge which is constantly there. One small last one I'll tell without taking too much of time. Today's generation is a WhatsApp generation. Anything that comes in WhatsApp and which is only 3 lines with some picture, they only see that.
Yeah.
So supposing I want to say something, so I'll just give you last month example. I want the mortgage RM to do 5 login, 4 sanction, so that rejection rate is not more than 20%, and 3 disbursement. So which is so that the people who get sanctioned don't go away. So you have to just tell him 5, 4, 3. You can't tell him, then he will remember. Then there is a diagram or something goes in WhatsApp, and you have to remind him constantly 5, 4, 3. And you have to constantly. So like we were talking about how do we now like recently we were trying supervisors to what do you do in your job. So we started a WhatsApp campaign saying you have to do RRR is a very top popular movie now. So we told RRR. RRR means you have to recruit, you have to retrain, you have to retain, and what are the activities we'll be doing with that. People don't have the patience to read the entire note. If you give a PPT of 20 slides, they just don't read. We are imagining 25, 30 years, we were reading the entire module. If
Notes also.
making notes. So they don't. Now how does technology enable us? That's the problem we are facing. And same with customer. Today if you go to a customer and you are pitching a product, you got deposit product, you have maximum 120 seconds. Maximum. Generally 30-60 seconds before that is gone. What is the rate? What is gone.
Yeah.
If for a loan product, you have maximum 5 minutes. Maximum 5 minutes. How in that time you are able to communicate? Same with stuff. So these are the typical, instead of saying what you are doing, what I feel is that what you are doing is not enough. Because probably, really, I would rather say what are the challenges we are facing. That's what I'm saying.
So I want to bring Pankaj here. You wanted to say something, Arun?
No.
Just that, these challenges, you need your sales trainees to hit the ground running. You don't have the luxury of training them for months on end. And with the high attrition rate, you constantly have influx of new people come in, right? How do you ensure that learning and the training is not another tick mark, but actually something meaningful is taken away over there? And also, and I want everybody else to come in if you have any experience with this, that they, like you said, the window of converting that customer is 120 seconds in some cases, 5 minutes in case of loans. It's small, narrower. Is there a way for the agent in that moment of truth to get some insight into the customer that helps him close the kind of sale? So what has your experience been driving these two?
Okay, so a couple of things. And it starts from within home. So when you say that, how do you treat customer or how do you really improve experience? So you have to start from within home. How are your customers within home, the front line are treated? The journey starts there. So 90% cases are dropped there only. You meet any of the frontliners, I would not say any, most of the frontliners at 10 a.m. and see what is the mood point. And then you expect that he should go and, speak glorified words. Right. So that's a, 180 degree. So therefore your entire imagination breaks then and there only. Right. So you have to start from there. First thing. Second thing, in the current era, if you really want to deliver through the client, through your people, the products has become such diverse, as people said already, that, from micro to etc. And then even now to mini micro also is there. So if you see such diverse product range that you can never ever map each customer expectation and deliver to that, because you would never be able to know what exactly. So if you say good customer service for someone means that I went to branch and I was offered coffee, is a good customer service for somebody, right? And for somebody, good customer service means that I never needed to go to the branch. The guy was here at my call, right, etc. So how would you map those expectations now? So therefore, the core should be two things. Number one, the most important is the couple of things I'm borrowing from people here said, like we were talking about a lot of churning around, right? In NBFC, trust you me, there is no churning. 90% people are there only. आज मेरे पास थे, कल इसके पास थे, है तो इधर ही ना. So there is nothing like fresher. There would be only 20% if you see. And now, the latest trend, if you see, I was just reading something. The latest trend is that, 15 to 20% is comeback ratio now, which has changed in last 3 years. Come back, right? So churning and all is nothing. The problem is the maturity of industry and maturity of organization is really required. Even today, I ask you a question. In all the organization across the nation, you go and find out there is something called, mandatory program. Do you all have or not? Tell me. Now, what do you mean by mandatory? They're enablers or not? So we have never taken them in spirit, no. They're not. They are being designed to enable your people to do a compliant sale, to meet the customer's need, be it IRDA, be it RBI, etc. So they all are really enablers, but they were never treated as that. The tag itself says mandatory, means you have to tick and finish. And this is not coming from the front now. This is coming from the top. And then you expect that, hey man, you there, who has been taught that this is mandatory, not to be done. This is mandatory, not in spirit ever. You should go to the client and, behave in a very not possible. You are wrong from the very principle itself, right? So that correction must have to come from there. That frontline guys have to be treated accordingly. And then the last thing I would like to speak is that if I ever tried to manage, the thing which worked for me so far is understanding that, there is something called functional need and there is something called emotional need, right? So right brain has to be aligned first. So that are we catering to the emotional need? Trust you me, as he said that, a loan customer span is 2 to 5 minutes, or a ex-customer is spanning X to Y minute, or she said that 30 seconds. And it's the truth. If you are selling insurance, you have only 30 seconds. If you are a banker, you may have 3 to 4 minutes, right? So that's how it works. However, if your right brain aligns, if you can really build value, if you can really build empathy, if you really know how to talk, everything else can be taken care of. Nobody would ever be, especially I would take an example and everyone can either agree or disagree with me. You don't need to find out. If I need to go to any insurance company and find out which is the top selling product, you don't need to find out. Just ask which is the highest paying product, and that by default is the top selling product. Is it right or wrong? So where is the training man? Where is the customer segment? By default, the highest revenue product is the highest selling product. Now, so where is the training required? Isn't it? So I'm saying again, if you learn to connect, if you have that empathy with the customer, if you really understand that, okay, somebody is here, I need to serve. So if that alignment is there, then comes, product, process and tools. So this, if you want to solve a problem through training, you have to complete the journey of mindset, skill set and tool set. And in 90% case, people fail in fixing the problem of mindset alone. So, beautiful things launched by, people here, but how many buyers are there? How many believers are there is big problem. So mindset itself is not there. How many reviews you see around the input and not output, right? So those are the connections which you start. And when you say that, talking to a client, what we often talk that, do you understand the emotional need of the guy? For somebody, loan 0.5% extra or less doesn't matter if his ego is pampered, taken care of. And for somebody, 0.1% also matters. He doesn't care that whether you treat him or not, or offer of coffee or not. So do you understand what is the need? So the moment you can align, the moment you learn to talk, if you want to break the barrier, you will have to break the barrier of that 30 second and this 2 minute. If that is the barrier, if you think that, I only have 2 minute window, the game is somewhere lost. And that's the biggest need of, training interventions. And that's where you really come in. Which relationship you want to build in 2 minutes? Tell me. As a banker, if I get a person, with, 50 crore deposit in my bank, should I be happy or sad? I don't know. Because he might have 5,000 crore, no? So I'm still a 1% person and he can skip any damn day. How deep am I with him is more important, no? And the deepening would never happen in 2 minutes or 10 minutes. So therefore, we'll have to break that barrier. And trust you me, no client is in that great hurry. This is what we have created within ourselves. I'm telling you a data, 67% people said that we may check about a financial product anywhere, but ultimately we want a validation, and therefore we go to a friend or agent or colleague who can validate. Even if I know, I want somebody to validate, and I am open to discuss. If I'm taking a decision of investment, I'm open to discuss. I invest time because it's my money. So I think there are certain barriers which we ourselves have created, and we have created. Why? Because my guy calls, say, very good morning, sir. And the moment I hear very good morning, sir, I know I have to disconnect. So that's why 30 seconds. Otherwise, that's not the customer's reality, I believe. That's about it. Thank you.
Interesting. Amit, coming to you, like you're heading bank assurance, you partner with the banks to distribute your insurance products, right? How much of that journey completes at the, a lot of the banks have their apps and everything. How much of that journey completes within the app itself without requiring any handholding? How much of the leads are then passed over to your agents, and how much handholding is then required for them to complete the journey, because you're already operating at a certain level of trust when you're engaging that bank's customers. So what has been the experience?
Amit, before you start, maybe I'll just add, a layer on top of it, because when Pankaj was talking about, are you able to strike a conversation? Do you have empathy? One of the hypotheses we have is that the biggest problem for this seller is that he's not from the same household as the buyer. And I'm using that word loosely because you don't know what happens, what their life is. You don't know what their...
We get it what you are saying.
Yeah. So in your case, you have to kind of handle double that, because you have a layer of banker in between, and you also have to do it for the customer. So how does your team handle this additional 2-level complexity? Because it's like a AND gate, right? This and this have to work for you to get a sale.
It is a little more complex than what you put. Because we work in an open architecture, right? At times there are more insurance sellers in the branch than the branch staff itself. And that's the biggest challenge. Just before I try to answer that question, what was the salary of a frontline sales in 2014?
25,000.
Same. What is the salary today? Same. So, I think we have missed that somewhere. Quality of sales is, and I remember my good old days when I was a frontline, right? And today, it's completely different learning curves, right? And yes, it is right that people don't want to put in the same amount of effort to read and, learn, but there are ways to teach them, right? And while we're talking about offline customer experience, customer is only looking at 3 things: clarity, service delivery, and availability. Now, who does that? And whatever time? Customer has a time. You're perfectly right. And that's where the whole challenge is. Now, when it comes to the banks, and actually there are banks at very different stages of evolution today in terms of their journeys for third-party distribution. Some banks are dependent on the tools and the portals or customer portals that the organizations have built for them. And some have tried to build their own. Now, when they're trying to build own, they are also learning in the process, because then it's a sales tool. It's not an end-to-end service delivery tool. And that's where the whole learning is getting more and more refined. More technology is happening. Where it's a long haul for any frontline. Because just imagine 27 companies to be, plugged into it. And every day I bring a new product, then the plug has to, the wires have to be rewired. It's a lot of effort. Some banks have done a fantastic job there. Now, who's the seller? Who's selling the product? Insurance product, right? Typically are 4 types. One is an embedded product, which is like a value add. You make a health FD, for example, and say, okay, we also cover some bit of wellness along with it. The second one is an attachment product. Naturally, there is an inherent large product, and mostly the banks sell it for revenue, which I keep on debating with my bankers that it should be more of protecting the portfolio, and that should be the approach. And then, then you have the third one, which is bundling. Now, bundling is nothing but, in the journey where opt-in happens or opt-out happens, right? And hence, how do you make those easier for the customer? First of all, the idea of having another person, a specialist, to sell has to go away at some point in time. Because the biases come in. You are talking about customer experience, customer obsession, and then you bring in a bias. Like you said, the highest revenue generating product becomes the most obvious choice to sell, because the weighted weightage that the banker gives is the highest, so then that's what that gets pushed. Yes, you're lucky at times, because naturally sometimes that also makes the competitor lazy And when you put in the effort, you get the rewards. And the fourth is the advisory product. I think the focus should be on the advisory product where more intervention, more specialist approach is required. For the other three, I don't think there's any requirement for any sales intervention whatsoever from a partner perspective. There, what matters is the journey, the experience that you're giving. Does the customer understand actually what you're buying? In an attachment product, I think none of the customers understand. So how do you solve that? Naturally, the regulator is making it more and more stringent, is asking for, putting in processes in place so the customer understands what he's buying and what is the value that he's going to derive out of it. So how is that happening? There are a lot of things that are happening. Naturally, the welcome call happens to the customer, right? And we are all to be blamed for it. We tried to keep it out when it came to retail under group or group kind of products, and he said only retail pe karenge. So as an industry, as we progress and as what regulator is also getting more and more stringent on it, there are now KYC is a big thing. I didn't even know who my customer is on a bundling or a attachment side, right? With the KYC kicking in, a lot of fraud detection, a lot of value that will start flowing into the system. It's a long haul for a health insurance industry. Fraud, waste and abuse is a big concern, right? And we as a new health insurance company have certain advantages naturally, because when you're building the whole systems, you're building thinking digital, you're trying to build the whole ecosystem around it. And also because we're a little unique in terms of the way we approach. So, we do not look at competition. We basically look at how do I put my value in front of the customer. And so I try to take the comparisons away, because the moment you do a comparison, any training tool will fail. I can tell it to you. Because when I was building a tool for DBS Bank and they wanted to show like a Policy Bazaar. For example, Policy Bazaar front end is not a tool. It throws the top 7 who pays the maximum revenue. So how are you going to trust that what you're showing is right or wrong, right? So there comes the validation part that he's going to check with someone, right? And from the seller's perspective, it's very important that he's able to deliver whatever he's promised. He's able to build a trust. And the third very important thing is he needs to have a toolkit. Like, we spoke about choreography, how it does. So we are making some work around that where we are kind of, helping the sellers have certain, a toolkit basically, where there's some standardized format. It necessarily need not be in the same order, but he should know the 5 things that must be told to the customer. That's the guardrail in any service delivery, any sale, right? Now, it's a very big challenge when you go to the partner and you have to deliver it, because naturally every partner has his own way of looking at it. There are few partners, they have end-to-end integration and those are working fine, but they are also now learning and they're moving more on redirection. Now, there are 2 or 3 types, like the hybrid type, which is an in-between where there's an API integration and then also a leg where some products are on the integrated journey, some are basically on my portal. And some partners are saying, okay, you run your portal only, right? And, conclude the sale. And then the third one, which is basically an end-to-end API integration. I think the deep integration will happen. That's something which will also bring a lot of value for the customer in the long run. So there are a lot of technology investments are happening today. Some of our partners have already embarked on that journey, and there are a lot of service providers who are doing that.
Quick question there.
Yeah.
So are you saying that SPs and let's say branch managers are influenced based on how easy is it to onboard customers in terms of recommending, let's say, a specific product or manufacturers?
It is a mix of a lot,
Okay.
right? Because even if it is easy but he's not able to see the person for the last 3 months, he will still not sell. Because please understand, banking products, that is his core bread and butter, right? Insurance can spoil that entire bread and butter for him. And that is always playing in behind his mind when he's proposing a product or proposition. And typically in a managed book, unmanaged book, it's more of a chip cow thing. What an agent does is the same thing that the banker does. उसको डंडा होता है, drive day होता है, और वो he just goes and sells whatever he understands. You know, there was a simple thing that we were trying to do. We launched a product which is market leading in terms of pioneering in terms of the features. And we saw that there were still people who were still selling another product of ours, you know, purana wala. And we were just trying to understand ये क्यों बेच रहा है. So we understood that the banker actually, you know, उसको वही समझ में आता है. तो उसको नया सीखना नहीं है, right? I'll now share the weakest link in this entire thing. You know what has happened? Scale has gone up, right? I remember मेरा 3 महीने train होने के बाद I was allowed to sell my first policy. 3 months, sir, not 7 days. 3 months, and I had to pass all the tests. And if I don't pass 6 months, I'm out. Probation के during नहीं किया मैंने pass, I'm out. So today the scarcity is the reason why you have what you have. Now I asked a question. You know, there were 200 leaders in our program that had come, and I asked them, how many of you are star facilitators? Star facilitators are nothing but trainers. None of them raised their hands. Who is supposed to train? Who is supposed to train? You know, you can bring all the technology. I'm sorry, but you know, I'm myself a digital, you know, pro guy. But unless you have, you know, my learning, if I'm not able to impart it to the guy on the front, I have to make more Amit Garus on the field. How do I do that? I have to start doing the training, right? I have to, you know, how many of the organization in like banks is different. I've been a banker because bank में सारे product किसी को भी नहीं आते, right? That's okay. But in an insurance company, why should a technology guy not understand an insurance product? Now, my question is that, you know, there lies the problem, because then how can he solution the product? How can, you know, a legal guy be able to solution the product, right? So the training is not only the job of the sales function or the training or the L&D function. Training is a job of every employee who is not a frontline in a sales organization. And that is what I learned the hard way. And we have started embarked on a journey, and we are also evaluating tools. So what we are saying is that we need to standardize certain things. What is the standardization we are trying to say? Because there's a purpose that we are living with, and that purpose needs to be standardized. So, you know, the opening, attention grabber, and the 5 things that one must talk about when he starts is what we're going to evaluate them. Now, yes, someone brought it up कि वो कुंजी है, and everybody passes the test. We realize that, and we're trying to solve it with a technology partner of ours, where we're saying that, you know, it's going to be captured, it's going to be evaluated, we're going to mark it, we're going to then have some leaderboards on it, some of the best pitches, we're gonna make them heroes. So we are moving in that direction now, right? अभी तक क्या करते हैं कि अभी हम लोग physical, digital करते हैं, and COVID spoiled us also. Everybody feels कि Teams call के ऊपर everybody is listening, nobody is listening, right? And that's a fact. Teams call के ऊपर आप किसी को पूछ ले तो वो अपने 4 और काम कर रहा होता है. Everybody is busy, right? And that's the reality, especially on the training bit. आप ट्रेनिंग का कोई भी प्रोग्राम रख लो, people are doing 10 other things, और आंसर शीट उसका बॉस ही दे देता है उसको कि बेटा ये लास्ट में आएगा, ये क्लिक करना और ये पास कर लेना. And that's a fact, and that's the reality. Everybody wants to quickly move and start producing, and that is where the problem lies. वो बिना नॉलेज के फील्ड में जाता है, राइट, और फिर फेल हो जाता है, फिर अट्रीशन होती है, फिर हम एक और नया पकड़ के लेके आते हैं और वो साइकिल कंटिन्यू करता है, राइट. So how do you fix that? The whole cycle has to be fixed from the top and not from the bottom. Every time we try to fix it from the bottom, problem will remain where it is. And yes, we need to use technology, we need to use physical interventions, and there are methods and there are tools available today that can help in being more productive. So for example, someone was talking about how do you manage lead management system and how do you track it. So we have something where we have an activity matrix and an effectiveness matrix. So we measure the activity to effectiveness, and we have a 2x2 matrix where we monitor in terms of activity to conversion ratio. So in each of the cohort, then we look at what is the problem and we try to fix it. And this is something we embarked last year. I come from a little bit of a FMCG kind of a culture. My first boss was a Coke guy. I learnt that I need to have a DSR every day to be filled, and I also need to have a beat map. So all those principles still work, because my line of business is more retail. It's not एक बड़ा ticket बेच दिया और पूरा महीना घर पे बैठे रहो. Doesn't work like that. I have to sell every day. And so every product, and I think an interesting point that came in, every product will have its own attention or span of attention. And that is where the learning tools need to understand that. What is that attention span, and how do you... life insurance is a little more complicated, more, when it comes to advisory. ULIP, typically, it falls in a more advisory kind of a product. So how do you do that? And term insurance, for example, is more of a comparative kind of a product. How do you do that? How do you win the trust in terms of claim? Maybe I used to sell the most expensive term early in my days, HDFC Standard Life, right? And everybody used to ask, कि कैसे बेचते हो? I said, trust पे बेचते हैं, right? Old Mutual was the Kotak's partner at that point in time, and they had the cheapest. They brought in smoking, non-smoking. What happens when you become from a non-smoker to a smoker? Nobody had an answer, and that was our kill, right? But that time 3 महीने पढ़ाते थे, दूसरे कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट मालूम होता था, आज किसी को मालूम नहीं. दिशा, yes. Yes, physical as well as.
What has happened is people have thought that there is a technology which shorten that time frame, and because the person is not trained enough, he or she attrites because they see that tomorrow I'll be asked to go, might as well, move on and get something which is different. So I think for me, I remember when I was a management trainee in New York, I was given 1 year training.
Yes, absolutely.
1 year was training. I was put into 4 or 5 departments for 3 months each, and there was a test every time. Every time I was to have a test. Today we want to do that in 3 weeks or 1 week.
So, अगर आप बच्चा 2-3 दिन में पैदा करने की कोशिश करोगे तो वो बच्चा वैसे ही डिफेक्टिव पैदा होगा ना सर.
I would say the course is still the same. The learning curve has
Same.
No, learning. So there are 2 things which has happened, and thanks to this Maggie and Netflix and all these things. One, the expectation at the top is you get new people and they're supposed to become productive within 30 days. Right, sir? Second, the people who are supposed to be trained and take time and pain to get themselves trained they want instant noodles.
Yeah.
They want 2-minute training. They think they are pioneers just because they have an MBA or a whatever degree. They think they are cat's whiskers and they don't want to put their brains into getting more trained. And they don't appreciate the fact that difference between textbook training and a practical training are 2 different things.
Absolutely.
They just think that because I've done what is CAPM and what is IRR and what is NAV, I know everything. But when it comes to showing them on a life insurance policy what is the IRR, they will not be able to calculate.
नहीं कर पाएगा. पुराना वाला कर पाएगा. And so तो क्या है कि फास्ट फूड का ज़माना है, माइक्रोवेव में डाला, खाया, निकल लिए, बट लॉन्ग टर्म में डैमेज करेगा. एंड आई थिंक दैट इज़ वेयर द मैनेजमेंट हैज़ टू स्टार्ट इंटरवेनिंग, एंड दैट्स द जर्नी, राइट? Technology can be an enabler. It cannot be the final solution.
Cannot be the solution.
Yeah.
Cannot be.
So
It will never be. And you can bring in whatever level of AI. So we use a lot of मैंने एक दिन उसको बोला कि एक काम करो, मारुति दीक्षित का फेस लगा के चला दो ट्रेन. Right? It's possible today, right? They said that, okay, there is this thing, Amit, I want to use your face so that people can relate to you because they're seeing the leader is delivering. I said, why will I do that, yeah? I will train myself. I do my training every weekend with my team. All thousands of them, they come, on the call and I am training them. Why would I, put a AI, the utpatang sa lagta hai wo, right? And
ultimately
yes,
it's a fake.
and it looks deep fake,
Yeah.
right? Yes, technology
It's a
will
chicken
help.
egg scenario. So today you see since the artisan is high,
It's a deep fake because वो वैसे ही है. Voice also मेरा ही है.
Terminology called deep fake.
Yeah, this is deep fake. हाँ, उसमें भी deep है. हम deep integration की बात कर रहे हैं, and then there is deep fake. So there is a challenge, and I think technology can help. And there are interesting tools that are available today. I think I was part of Tata AIA at that point in time, and we had a challenge in terms of, and there was a problem statement from where the video solutioning came in. And the problem statement was that Tata AIA before it was AIG and it shut down a lot of branches. So how do they service the customer? So Yusuf was the chief operating officer then, and I said, Yusuf, एक काम करते हैं ना, WhatsApp video call पे validate कर लेते हैं ना उसका देख के. And that is from where the whole origin started. कि इसको why don't we look at it? Because just imagine 200 branches आपने बंद कर दी, customer जाएगा कहाँ? And now you have to pay him the money, right? He will not go 200 kilometers to validate his credential. So branch manager क्या करता है? जब branch में आता है तो वो क्या करता है? उसको बोलता है आधार दिखाओ, अच्छा ये आप ही हो क्या? So we said, okay, let the guy go there and we do the real-time validation on the go on a Zoom or whatever, and that's how then we tested it, because naturally it had to be controlled, and that's from where the whole origin started. Ki, you can bring anybody at any given point in time, he can be a fair, but there are limitations in that, because जब उसको select करता है तो वो बोलता है बाद में करना. That's the problem with the technology. You have to make everybody equal to you, then technology will work.
Yeah, because somebody should be able to use it and consume it. And more than that, two things I would like to add here. One is on the lighter side, that as he said that it took me 1 year and I was given 1 year to get there. That was the learning curve, and people now think that they have shortened the learning curve. So now people don't take 1 year. People take 3 organizations to learn, 3 months each. so the learning curve is still the same.
Yes.
But that is happening in 3 different organizations maybe.
Some people don't even learn after 3. So what they
Because-
do is
and that's
they
not
start
their
at
problem
2
actually.
lakhs, They end up at maybe
Yeah.
a year or 2 at 5 lakhs.
Uh-huh.
That's the end of story.
Actually. So now the second thing on the serious note is that we need to understand that the life has changed big time, right? I mean, forget about educating your people. Now the time has come where people have tried and tasted success and educating the client itself directly. Don't limit it to educating. I mean, that has worked. If I tell you that insurance was supposedly the toughest thing to sell, what if I say that today more than 50% term insurance is sold online? And when I say sold online, means not sold, purchased. So where is the push? More, and I'm saying more than 50%. Term insurance is currently purchased and not sold, which means customer awareness is of a very different scale today. And we are ignoring that fact big time. So if you see, especially in any kind of product, if you will find apart from that FMCG, there are 3 kind of sales, and it is no history kind of thing. We found that. So we say trust sale, obligation sale, and technical sales. So if you see earlier, when you were in Ambadep, Sanjay, so there was a time when trust sale was leading the markets. Trust sale. I know you, you know me. So person will come, बहुत समझदार आदमी भी होगा, तो वो 4 सवाल जरूर पूछेगा और 5वीं बार कहेगा यार तू देख के ठीक लगा देना. So ultimately he is going to trust on you for the wisdom and decision making, right? So trust sale was leader. Second is obligation sale. मैं बैंकर हूँ यार तेरा, मैं गलत थोड़ी करूँगा तेरे साथ. So I am doing 10 things for you. So बैंक वाला तो जो भी बेचेगा वो बिक जाएगा.
I'm a Kotak customer.
Cool. So I'm saying trust sale, obligation, then comes technical sale, which was hardly 7-8%. If I talk about 10 years back, hardly 7-8%, people used to really see what premium or what interest rate and what IRR, etc., and then take a call. Even if they say everything now, then I'll also say, यार तुझे लग रहा है ना, but let me tell you, ये बढ़िया है, ये अच्छा करेगा, तो मैं मान जाता था, because I was still, ये Indian core fabric है that we don't celebrate independence, we celebrate interdependence. To the extent that if I go to a branch, I expect, यार मेरा form भर देगा. And people are okay with that, right? So interdependence is the Indian fabric, and therefore the first 2 were celebrated too much. But now that's not the truth. If I say that 50% plus has gone online, is not being sold but purchased, which means it's a different thing.
So I'll just take a thing there, because my understanding is that while you still have people purchasing from the policy bazaars and cover fox of the world, a vast majority of their sale is never
I'll
completely online.
Correct you, sorry. They're not purchasing, they're still being assisted.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly it. You
that
still
I
need to
agree.
make a call to kind of close on that.
I told you that, for validation, I will still bank on somebody, but the education of the client has been really on a different level. And that is why, without taking name, you would see lots of fintechs and lots of, digital models. They are doing phenomenally good without having a single branch, and nobody has ever seen them. Yes or no? So maybe many of your cars would have been insured with certain, new age, new day insurance policies, which you have never seen, you have never met. So the times have changed, right? From the day when, this thing came, kar lo duniya mutti mein.
Seriously, when I talk to my kids, they don't want to go to bank branch.
Yeah.
Why do I need to go to bank?
So for them,
I don't
service
need
is
a
that.
checkbook. Why do I need a debit card?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
UPI to pay, Uber to take you anywhere. Why do I need to drive?
Yeah.
My son is 25. He says that I
जिस
don't
दिन
need to drive. I have
बैटरी
Uber.
ड्रेन होगी उस दिन याद आएगा सर हुआ है मैं
Then
So,
he
but
has
trust
phone
me,
call.
there is one fact.
then
is
he'll
that,
call you from a STD
वो
booth
बहुत बड़ी होता है.
Yeah.
No,
but just to take this, Pankaj. So see, I'm just taking this back to Dharmesh. So a lot of the products that everybody else sells is, let's say, slightly complicated. People may not know, but you take care of deposits, right? So which is, let's say, probably the most let's say known financial product in India today. So but how does that work for you in terms of people knowing the product much better than any other, let's say,
Any other
financial
product,
service?
yeah.
Sorry.
Any other financial.
Yeah, so I mean, typically you say, "Haan, are you saving money?" You say, "Haan, fixed deposit hai mera." So I'm sure all of us have some fixed deposit, whether we believe in it or not, whether we think it's beating inflation or not. So how has that helped, you to, solicit deposits of your team to actually like go ahead and is there really an advantage that customers know the product?
See, most of the time it happens that we've seen that sales team, they sell the product which you are pushing them. Many a times we have seen, like, for example, if I tell about a particular product, when customer gets a cashback, product is selling like a very good. We all are happy that product which we have manufactured is being sold. But when you look at the customer, he's not getting any cashback. When you try and dig into that, then they come to know that customer doesn't even aware about it, that thing. That actually this is a feature of the product. So idea is ki most of the time it happens that product is being sold because you are pushing it off, but customer is not aware about the features. And at times it happens that frontline who is selling, he also doesn't know about the features. He is also selling the way, as you said, that either trust, obligation is still there. So he's sales like that. So the gap is there that you give the 5 USPs, 3 USPs to frontline, which he remembers A, B, C. These are the three USPs of my product, and which I tell it to my customers that and there. So this is the gap. Most of the time, this gap always there, which we need to bridge it.
So there's one thing that I would like to add here, specific to deposit products. If you look at a banking deposit product specifically, a current or a savings account, these products largely across banks, they are largely commoditized. There would be like 19-20 ka farak hoega, and there is some pricing difference here, some cosmetic changes there, maybe a partnership or an alliance. These are the differences. Now, when you look from a consumer's perspective, the customer is seeing the same product almost for him. There is no difference which is coming out. He doesn't see a value add over there. So there, when you are using technology with the sales people on the ground, where he can make a comparison, he can tell him that this is exactly what we do. Nothing replaces the face time that the guy on the market spends. There is no comparison of there is human intelligence, and the consistency and intensity of human effort is supreme. I can give him loads of matter, but if he doesn't go and approach the customer, whether it's in-house, outside, it doesn't make a difference. But how technology in a way would probably simplify the salesperson's life is that he's getting the information that he requires on the fingertips during his interaction with the customers. We have a very noisy social media today. Open an account and don't tell the customer that if you don't maintain the balance, you get 750 rupees, for example, as a charge plus GST. End of the month, he gets a charge. He will put it all around Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, from somewhere he will figure out the managing director's help desk ID and he will shoot the mail out there. Some of them even go a step ahead. They will write it to the nodal officer and even to the ombudsman, because the regulator is also concerned. The regulator in their meetings with banks, they have started raising this point that why is it that consumers are complaining so much, and they are the amount of queries that the ombudsman receives is phenomenal. So hence today, making an informed sales pitch, if I may put it that way, is very, very critical. I can't just say something and get away with it, close a deal and come back and tomorrow realize that, oh, I missed this, and I go back to him. Now, if I do that proactively, I still may be able to cement the relationship, I may be able to mend the ways. But if the consumer were to find out the lapse, he would come to the branch hammer and tongs. And that is where the entire thing,
I think
would.
also what you're saying is absolutely on line. But it acts like nudges. So it
Yes.
helps you to probably sell better and sell right.
Correct.
I think that's more important.
That's more important.
That's what
And-
digital technology does to you.
Some kind of gamified way of you like
No,
frontline
So
also learns
sometimes
easily.
you are talking on a product, for example, you're talking about a current account, right? And you remember 10 features, but you don't remember the last two.
Yep.
Okay? Even if you have something in front of you on your mobile, and those are two of the ones which actually going to get the sale. So I think those will prompt you.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
where the technology really has
Challenge there, Sanjay, is that I have 4 banks I bank with.
Mm.
What you sell to me would be based on what you have with you. How do you get the other information is very important and critical to be contextual in what you're selling.
So that is where the training
And
comes in.
that is where the whole
the training comes in, where you
the,
keep on
the
training
relationship management kicks in
people. So
and
the
manage.
relationship manager comes in once you have the account. Till that time, it's more about how you get your foot in the door more than anything else.
So that's
So that's
very
where
important.
your knowledge about market or your product, your competition products, and how you speak and how do you communicate. Sometimes speaking in English is detrimental to your sale, right? But speaking in Tamil or speaking in Hindi or Marathi or Gujarati is what makes it sale. That's your local knowledge which comes in. So I think that it's a combination of multiple things. Technology is one which will help you to sell more, and I'm seeing that happening. Secondly, sell right. And training is far more effective because you can keep on repeating it. Like if I have a training for let's say 100 people, I will do it once in a month, right? If I have a video which can even talk about current account or a fixed deposit, like this is my features, these are the benefits, and you can open an account which is zero balance and you get a debit card and all those things which you keep. So those, if you can just play it again and again, it's like how do you memorize a song? You listen to it once, twice, right? How do you learn ABCD? You learned it for 1 full year, 2 years. So I think that's what the technology is going to help us more than anything else.
So I'll just
Rest
add.
is all about your interpersonal skills and your ability to and your basic attitude. Are you
So I
geared up
wanted
for
to check
sale
on
or
this
not?
one. So
Yeah.
when you say, how somebody communicates is important. I mean, I agree with that. But when we looked at a lot of people who are fairly successful, they may not be, what they, even if at all they lack in this communication or flair or whatnot, we've seen them make up in the whole rigor and rhythm, because for them, they say,
So,
boss,
yeah, of
it's
course.
about like how many touch points and how many follow-ups, and it's so do you see that lacking in where people think that it's like a drama where I sit in front of the customer, I can speak well, I can flow this, and I kind of lose out on this. Is that something that you
So,
see in the
that's
current
like
set of sales team?
individual things. For a private banking kind of person, you will have much less higher conversion cycle vis-a-vis a absolute straight guy, right? Similarly, a person can sell more because of his discipline. Somebody can sell because he's got far more effective communication skills. It's a combination. It depends on person to person. It's very person specific. You can't generalize that.
So
But
so
yes,
you're
you
not.
have some traits which are general. You need to be able to speak. You need to be able to present yourself. All that is, some of the things which are very generic, and it cuts across entire BFSI industry. But also depends upon which kind of sale are you doing. You're selling a 1 crore policy, or you're selling a basic term plan, which is let's say 10-15,000 to a 25-year-old guy. It's a big difference. So I think that's the difference.
See, the thing is,
And technology plays a part in all. It's not only for the.
So my question is more in terms of saying, because it always changed with people, but I also seeing it saying let's say the guys who joined in 2010s to let's say 2016s to today. So is there a generational change in the way people are looking at sales and what they need to
Absolutely.
do?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they actually don't want to spend time reading.
And they
right?
want to
So
sell
they
too
want
much.
everything audio video, and that's the way they learn.
And that's why the
hence
technology
that-
is there, then we should
then
utilize
that's
that.
where the content plays a very important role in how you do it. Also, not only that, they want instant gratification and reward, which was not there earlier. So they have nothing called as loyalty, right? तो आप उनको LTIP दे दो तो वो बोलेगा ये तो बांध के रखने वाला काम है. So very different mindset.
It's a
They're
tool to negotiate.
very yeah. That's very different.
24, 23 to 27, 28 mindset is very different from 28 to 30.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I have a question here because the group of people here who have approximately 20 years of experience, and we are talking about those who are the 20-year-old and the age bracket of 20s.
Younger.
So how do you kind of match? Because these are the people who are on Insta, scrolling reels, taking content, like you said, somebody said instant noodles, like, and that's the way of educating themselves, right? Personally, I don't find anything wrong in it, because rather than reading big books, right now if I'm on the go and I have a 1 or 2 hour travel, I'd rather put on an audiobook and listen to it, and really don't get into details of or reading a book or a brochure or anything like that. So then, with this gen gap, how do you find that right fit of solutions?
The way you deal with your kids is the way you need to deal with them. That's the straight answer.
I could see Sanjay smiling all along. He's like,
Because
That is also a struggle, Sanjay is thinking.
yeah, that's a struggle, yes. But that is your biggest learning, because they're very honest and they are not scared,
Yeah.
right? In any forum, you can't tell him. Purane zamane mein, you would not cross hierarchies. Today, you will right away go straight up, go to the CEO and say, you know what, this guy told me like this.
Absolutely.
Social media बाद में जाता है आज उतना भी नहीं.
More than responsibility
See,
is another
yeah.
So, but there are three very good things which I personally noticed. So, we would have onboarded, let's say, 600-700 management trainees in last few months. I'm talking recent as well. What I found that if you compare 10 years back and now, accountability, they take more.
Yeah.
Sincerity is higher. Like, they know what I will do and they also know what I will not do. Right? They ask questions for sure. They don't fear that who you are doesn't matter to them, but they're more accountable. I mean, there was a time now, when the first struggle was to get people on time. At least here, people take their own responsibility, accountability, and you build from there. So what you need to adopt is their language. You cannot keep speaking French to a Tamilian.
Yeah.
So that's very important, and then they are more adopted.
I bit disagree there. So what we realize, and I've been part of a startups, where naturally you have no choice but to hire and work with them.
Yeah.
One of our digital marketing campaign lead was a young guy. He used to come at 12 in the afternoon, and I was okay with it because he used to work till 12 in the night.
Yeah.
Now you have to make those adjustments. Now it might mean that at times you are still coming at 9 and you're going at 12 because you're still working on it. You have to adjust. And that's what I learned, in the process. I worked on a lot of new startups, and so their discipline definition is very different. Huh?
So that's what I'm saying. So you have to understand their
You
language.
say, I'll finish my job, don't ask me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
You have given a task, na, main khatam kar dunga, sir. Don't worry. So that's their sincerity,
That's true.
right?
You
But
can't be manipulated like that.
problem in our corporate structure and culture is, so you have to, find the balance. But on the sales side, honestly speaking, the issue is that we are still paying him what we used to pay him 10 years back, and that is where the whole skill gap comes, and
Yeah,
hence
the quality.
training becomes the far more important thing. अगर मेरे को तब 3 महीने train किया था, right, after doing MBA, I think this guy needs a little bit more, and we need to have patience. That's why we rejigged our entire.
That is not there.
So we've rejigged our entire
See-
So one thing
variable
is
pay.
So I just wanted to put up a perspective. Like now, the difference customer segmentation has become more differentiated. Like 20 years back, we used to have two segments. You can
Retail, corporate.
retail, corporate. Now you have got the customer segment in tier 2, tier 3 city. They behave differently, and the sales approach also has to be very different. For example, when we do sales to our micro customer, it is more or less process driven. Go to them, nudge them 2-3 times, and maybe if you are able to nudge them 100 times, maybe the conversion will be 20%, and you will be able to get. But when we are selling to mature customer in digital metro, then the customer engagement becomes more important. So definitely we require more trained salesperson who can engage with the customer better.
We just wanted to just add one point. Even if you see what this microfinance borrower, they have changed. They have changed. These are kind of like I'm talking
They
about.
know about Vadar,
Old
they
days
know
when
about
we used to there used to be
account,
microfinance.
everything they know.
See, 3-4 microfinance companies used to be there. 2007, I'm talking about little big companies. Used to go, if there is a time at 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, all the women will be there. And there will be a song, waiting, there will be a song, then there will be explanation. Because that today, if you see, if you go to a group, it's a 15-member group, only 5 or 6 will be there. And
Every center.
so what is happening? Because the point which I'm driving that somebody was actually, when I was discussing, when I met somebody in the airport, so he has never done rural. So when I told him that I'm handling retail and agri loan, he was not interested in the retail part at all. So it was the agri part. So he told, when we go to rural, the customer will be very sentimental, very attached, very emotional, and they will be very honest. But this rural, it's far more difficult to deal with rural customers and dealing with an urban customer. They are far more intelligent. They understand things very well. They understand. So
They're much smarter.
They're much smarter. If they want to fool around, they can do. Today, you see microfinance borrowers. Today, they know that they can actually have voter ID as one identity. If their entity is taking voter ID as one identity, other separately, and not entire other is there. They will actually use it so that your things will not come in bureau. So the point I'm saying, the maturity, irrespective of customer segment, whether it's a microfinance borrowers, or say Kisan credit card, Kisan credit customers is ultimate. If he has to do churning, there are people who will give them money for a day, and the churning will happen in the account. So I'm saying that as the customer, irrespective of segment, whether it's a rural, semi-urban or urban, as the customer matures, they behave similar pattern. So because the roads are becoming better, communication is becoming better, internet connectivity is becoming better. So there's a very blurring line between what is called rural, semi-urban, and what is urban.
This change what you are referring, this has come post-COVID, because pre-COVID they used to be.
I'm talking about now only. Now, if you see the discipline is not there in any borrower. Today, if you see all, because the borrower is getting maturity. Today, supposing one fellow wants a microfinance. Those days there used to be like they used to hanker for. Today there are in a town there are 50 to 60 companies who are ready to lend. Today, if you miss today, that's the
average microfinance borrower has loans from 2-3 companies minimum,
and he's managing.
Yeah, rotating.
So if you see the customer behavior is actually changing. I'll just give one interesting example. So like what Sanjay was saying. So I went in my first job. I went. So I went to my boss. He was not an MBA graduate. So he was around 50. So I told him I want to give me a very clear cut assignment. So he looked at me. Maybe some earlier MPs would have done. Okay, empty. You want a clear cut assignment. Then he told you clear cut assignment for next 7 days is you just go and meet everybody and find out what each person is doing. I told him what is in that. So he told observing what is happening in the office. Like each department, like procurement, how they're doing, sales, how it's doing, market. That itself is a job. Today, we will not even give 1 hour for that. 1 hour for that to meet. E-meet or something. So then he told, okay, you do one thing. Okay, you go to the market, meet the distributors, and just 7 days, just give me a report. I told them, what report you want? No, whatever you feel to be developed, whatever you understand, just give a report. That kind of patience was there. And people are investing because the attrition was well below 10-15%. If there's a 10% attrition, they can afford that. So if the attrition is 60%, how will you afford that? Because the cost will be so high, so prohibitive, and somebody will say, because you are not training, he's going. Believe me, the people whom I have trained, we went for something called, when I was opening the branches, we went for something called BM certification. We trained them 20 days classroom training. Classroom is expensive.
Yet attrition.
Attrition was hardly some 10%, 5% drop.
I agree with you.
So they got trained.
Did the same thing in India.
And they went for interviews and they told me, bank has already trained, I'm almost on the verge of getting certification. And we took a bond. That is not enforceable. Some paid, some did not pay. What will you do? The new employer doesn't ask. For at best you can hold his relieving letter, or you can give some printer. But the employment requirement means so much. People don't ask where you have worked, whether you have done a fraud. People don't ask today because you have to hire as of yesterday.
I don't want to experience people.
Everybody wants experienced people because we don't want to train freshers.
No one wants to train.
That's a painful task.
And no, I think also the organizations don't have the what do you call the withdrawal to wait, unlike earlier times when I got into the workforce. Where is a program for 1 year? Where is a program for 3 months? 3 months is like probably the highest, right?
Yeah, Banca में the whole problem because the resource is yours.
Yeah.
And banks are busy doing their stuff. But there are success stories where they look at them as resources at zero cost. It works.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the paradigm shift that we are trying to drive. Saying कि resource में हो, it should be productive. What happens is you keep adding more. See, it's like this. एक रोटी खा रहे हैं हम सब और फिर 10 लोग और आ गए, रोटी एक ही है. तो आधी मिलेगी ना. और फिर और 10 लोग डाल दिए, तो 1/3 मिलेगी. Either the size of the pie has to increase. If the pie doesn't increase, then that guy is eating, कम रोटी, तो वो तो attract करेगा ही. So more partners you add, more people come in the picture. The whole thing, goes in. So that is why when we are into a banca kind of an environment, the idea is that what is that value that you're adding? Are you growing the pie or you're eating the same pie? And that is where the whole discussion needs to be. But क्या है कि everything is very, everybody wants quick
Business plan is already set.
Yeah.
So
I think
painful.
I think that's where the conversation is there. A lot of interesting insights, how the window is shrinking, how people are leaving, how you're using technology to bring operational efficiency, but maybe it's not moving the needle in terms of outcomes necessarily always. A lot of interesting perspectives. We can take this conversation maybe outside of the boardroom, but thank you all for sharing your industry insights and experiences.
The good thing is that you can see it's across. The problem is across.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody is resonating with each other and being like, even though maybe the businesses are a little different.
Next time we should bring some maybe younger people perspective also.
See,
What they
I'm
have
sorry,
to say.
It was good absorbing so much and trying to from the perspective of how to this question I asked, how to strike that balance between leadership which comes with so much of experience and had a different style of learning when they were doing sales versus
So
the
I
kind
think
of people.
The best solution which I have understood dealing with my kids is that you have to top their language.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to align to them because they will outnumber you very soon. So,
Any people-centric industries are facing challenge with retaining and with driving that cultural thing which
but
used to be there.
unfortunately, in our industry, because of the nature of the business, we can't say you come at 12 and you can leave it at 3.
Yeah, some industries don't have that
leeway.
leeway.
You don't have that. So that's why you see a slightly higher turnaround or turnover in our business. They're not used to that 9 to 5 culture. They're not used to being in the office or being driven continuously for 10 calls, 5 calls, whatever. They think I can do the.
And if they
They
don't see
can
logic,
also
they
do.
don't correct.
Yeah.
What we have done, Anand and sharing, we've made it as simple as I said, कि bare bone कर लो, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
He said 5, 4, 3. He said 1, 2, 3. एक ब्रांच जरूर चले जाओ रोज के रोज 2 फ्रेश न्यू कस्टमर मिलो और 3 फॉलो करो दैट्स इट दैट्स इट इतना
वो भी
करो
कर लिया तो बहुत बड़ी बात।
बहुत बड़ी बात अच्छा वो कर दिया तो हम हाथ जोड़ के आपको बोलेंगे थैंक यू सो मच एट द एंड ऑफ द डे दैट्स द अप्रोच
So it's getting late. I think maybe we should have all these conversations one-on-one outside now. We don't want to keep you any more longer because it's closing to 9. Thank you all for joining us. Arun, do you want to make some concluding
No,
remarks?
thanks a lot. I think I really, this is one of my favorite discussions because I think it flowed really naturally. People kind of got in, and I think the less people here speak, I think that's the best. So I appreciate this and hoping to take this outside as well. So thanks a lot.
No,
Absolutely. Thank you.